and that is a quorum. So if you'd like to start, we can, unless Mr. Burt, you wanted to wait for anyone else.
I'm good.
All set?
It's a vote, so does that still count as a quorum?
I'm sorry?
I'm a non-voting member. Does that count as a quorum?
Oh, I forgot. You were ex officio.
Yeah, we're fine. We have 9 official members. And we have 5 of them here.
Okay, great. 9 official, 5 here.
Mhm.
So we have, all right, so good evening. It is Wednesday, October 28th at 5:34. And this is the Long-Term Recovery Committee for the town of Groton. We have a special meeting agenda, members present, Mayor Hedrick, Mayor Granatowski, Mr. Bronk, Mr. Burt, Councilor Bumgardner. And we have one guest in attendance as well. And approval of the minutes. This is item 3.1, 2020, September 16th, 2020 meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Mayor Hedrick.
Moved by Hedrick. Is there a second?
Second, Bumgardner.
Moved by Hedrick and seconded by Bumgardner. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none. All those in favor of 2020, September 16th, 2020 special meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved unanimously with 5 members present of the 9. 5 of 9. Okay, we are on to new business. This is item 4.1, 2020-533 COVID-19 updates. And Mr. Burt, did you want to start off on this, or you want to turn it over to Mr. Bronk?
Well, just to mention, as I'm sure we all know, that we are now in a red alert category for COVID. That starts at 15 cases per 100,000 people per day. A few weeks ago, we were only at 3, and now we're at 17. So we're a couple above that. So we'll find out Thursday. I assume tomorrow there'll probably be a state call to get the latest information, but otherwise, the actual written report will come out on Friday to see where we're at per the state right now, after another week. So we'll see. Other than that, in your packet, Paige had put down some ideas, on some responses to COVID. If you maybe want to, discuss a few of those, it might be a good place to start. Unless the Representative Conley, do you have anything, that's new information or anything from the state you want to share? Sorry, Mayor, I shouldn't do that.
No, I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. I'm trying to get the minutes open here. I mean, the agenda open.
So we do get 4 o'clock updates, and our update today is slightly better news than yesterday. We have currently 309 folks hospitalized across the state with COVID. And we are at 3.4% positive, which is down from yesterday's 4.1% positive. So while we are trending in the right direction, we're still much higher than folks would like. 2% is a much better number for contagiousness and safety. So we all need to certainly wash our hands, don't touch our face, wear the mask. Thank you, Paige, for the Groton mask too. And do what we can. We're still on the daily calls and getting news every day as to what's going on. We are there's plenty of room for us in the hospitals right now in New London County, but hopefully none of us need to go there. And if folks are sick, please call your doctors right away. There is a testing location. There's one Friday at the senior center, but we also have every day at Community Health Center, which is on 184. Right by Antonino Drive and 184 test. I've got mine last week. You sit in your car, you wait in the line, bring some work. The line does get a little long, so bring a book or work or something while you're in line and get tested. So if we all get tested, we can figure out who's asymptomatic, and the asymptomatic folks can self-quarantine, and then we can try to keep these numbers down low. But we all still have to really do our part and be very cautious because we are in a higher level. Our current numbers, we are not the worst county in the state, but it doesn't mean that we don't have a lot more work to do to keep our numbers down right now.
Thank you, Representative Conley. Mayor Hedrick, I believe, is hosting a test site tomorrow as well. Welcome, Ms. Patrick. Mayor Hedrick, did you want to mention your testing? I think it's Friday at your building, isn't it? Hmm? We'll take that as a no. All right, so Mr. Burt mentioned that in the packet on page 7, there were town council long-term recovery COVID ideas. And at this point, Mr. Bronk, did you want to go through those?
Sure.
Thank you.
At the last meeting, there was some general discussion about what ideas might Groton suggest to the state for consideration. So we actually talked about it offline with some other staff and came up with this listing. In addition, we added some local considerations, some of which were already being done, but they're not necessarily, they're actually not in priority order, and it's a running list, and these are ideas, not necessarily saying that that is something that should definitely happen, but wanted to put them forward for consideration. I guess I'll just run through them just quickly. Regarding local implementation, the first bullet deals with deferring or waiving local taxes on personal property and equipment. And I believe the town manager said that there may be some challenges, some issues with at least the equipment. There may be some legal issues, but the idea is basically to give some local relief and keep some money in local businesses' wallets rather than having it go out and trying to go after grants and getting it back. Whatever we can do either at the local or state level to keep money in people's wallets, particularly businesses, that's the way to do it. Secondly, defer the enactment of any new ordinances which might burden existing businesses until the public health emergency is lifted. Conduct virtual business forums, asking businesses what would help them the most. Now, the staff and also the EDC, I believe this is the case in both the city and the town, that they're doing the outreach, they're communicating with businesses. I can speak for the town. Our EDC has actually stepped up more as a result of COVID. So that is one benefit. We've had a lot of outreach to businesses, whether it be the masks or the posters that have been put on storefronts and trying to get email addresses, which allows us to go out. But there might be a benefit in having town council, city council asking for public input directly from the business community, because we're only getting so much information back. So it's just food for thought. Locally, again, another idea is creating a small business and startup assistance grant program to cover costs of starting a business, not to focus on helping subsidize existing business operational costs. We believe that there is already federal money, or there was federal money available for that. Hopefully there'll be more coming. But what could be done that's not already available by the feds and the state? And if we're looking for businesses to pivot off of what they do, maybe we could offer a small program in that regard. And then the last bullet, I guess I already somewhat touched on that, is the direct business outreach. We're doing that already, but maybe there could be more people involved to try to get the input from businesses directly. In terms of state implementation, and again, we weren't necessarily saying that these would be easy or feasible, but in the spirit of keeping money in the wallets of businesses, which will help reduce risk and help them actually get through their challenges, possibly deferring or waiving corporate income taxes during the public health emergency for all businesses with annual revenue below 1 million. So that's generally smaller businesses. I was at a restaurant yesterday, did takeout, and I had this idea. I said, hey, you have this overhang and you have these columns. If you could just block the wind during the winter, maybe that's one way to, extend your season. And the answer was, well, where are we going to get the money? Don't try to increase our costs. This is a friend of mine who operates a restaurant, but he said it in light. But I do think that the more we can keep the money in their wallets so that they can operate their businesses over a tough season that's coming, the winter, I think that's a good idea. The second bullet, very similar, but deferring or waiving the payment of sales tax for certain vulnerable business sectors. Case in point would be restaurants. Only during this public health emergency. And I understand the challenge. The state needs the money too, but rather than trying to offer grants and people apply and there's complexities and bureaucracy, what can we do at the state level to allow that money to stay in the business over the next few months? Third bullet, pass right to open legislation that allows businesses of any type to operate if in compliance with state approved safety protocols. So everyone notices the state will tend to treat certain businesses differently than others. But if we have certain guidelines that talk about masks and distancing and separation and occupancy limits, it really shouldn't matter that much whether it's business or industry sector X versus industry sector Y. The fourth bullet it has been accomplished as now that we've entered phase 3. So this list was developed earlier, so we can ignore the 75% limit. The fifth bullet, grants to sole proprietor businesses. The NAVA retail results indicated that the sole proprietors really have been hurt the most in comparison to a larger company or certainly a corporation. So maybe if we could really target some grant funds for this from the state for the business that really only has 1 or 2 workers, or certainly less than 5. The next one, business continuity certification. Try to partner with existing financial institutions to pre-approve lines of credit. So for a small business, walking into a bank or communicating with a bank, trying to get that special line of credit is a challenge. And maybe if the state is able to try to come up with a program where certain financial institutions will automatically make these lines of credit available for any business that meets certain criteria, pre-qualifications. We thought that might be helpful, particularly if that business is going to have a pivot plan, how they're going to modify their business, not how it was operating in 2019, but how it's going to operate for the rest of 2020 into 2021 to be more efficient in light of the COVID situation. The second to last bullet is actually one that we're pretty sensitive about and we're pretty passionate about from our office. And that deals with discouraging favoritism in terms of how these restrictions are actually unveiled. So if we go back over the past few months, when certain businesses were allowed to open because they were classified as essential, it actually harmed certain businesses more than others. If we had a large big box that was allowed to be open because they were essential, they sold food, paper products, and things like that. Well, they were allowed to open the entire store, even selling the items that were not essential. So that actually hurt the business that was forced to close entirely because they didn't have any product line that was classified as essential. Again, I don't want to talk about certain businesses, but typically large retail operations benefited from this, and small retail operations were harmed. And then the last point, the last bullet, possibly creating a portable benefits plan for these independent workers in light of them being harmed the most. again, food for thought. It's a long listing of considerations. We're not recommending any one over another, and they certainly don't have priority order.
Thank you, Mr. Bronk. At this point, are there questions for Mr. Bronk about any of these particular items? And if not, we'll just throw it up into a discussion. Anything in particular you wanted to ask about?
Sima has her hand up.
All right, Moderator Eben, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. That was a great presentation. I'm sorry I missed the beginning, but I had looked over it. And I'm really excited by the last bullet of creating a portable benefits plan for independent workers. I think that would be fabulous. I was just kind of curious about, I had a few comments. One is discouraging favoritism towards national corporations. I know you don't want to discuss specifics, but I'm just curious where like Ocean State Job Lot fits into that, because they were open during that closed period. And I found them to be amazingly useful in my shopping needs. It was the only place with flour that I knew of for a really long time. What is that considered? And I'm just curious. Is Ocean State considered a national corp? Because it's certainly multi-state at the least.
I believe that it is. And I believe they were classified as essential initially because they sold food.
Yeah, okay. The other thing I wanted to just mention, the grants for sole proprietor businesses, my husband runs a sole proprietor business. So I guess I, have a conflict of interest here, but I know one of the issues, he has no employees at this point. Sometimes he hires subcontractors. And he is a builder and chose not to go into people's houses because of COVID. So lost a substantial amount of business, but was also didn't either understand, the grants, or the grants didn't fit him because he doesn't have employees. So there were no employees who could be lost. So I was just curious. I just think actually with all these amazing bullets, that education or information or the dissemination, a portal of information would be incredibly useful as well for these small sole proprietors, because he really didn't know, if he was eligible. He had a fear he would have to pay, get penalized if he did it inappropriately. And he didn't believe there were grants that would aim at a sole proprietor who had no employees. So anyway, those are just my initial thoughts.
Thank you, Moderator Eben. Representative Conley.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Sorry, I should get better at Zoom by now. I just have one initial thought. I think all those the local and state plan ideas are great ideas. I just want to mention on the sales tax. If sales tax is stopped, it just means it doesn't go on the bill. So the restaurateur would not receive any income. It's very clear. I know a lot of people. You should not be using the sales tax income as income for your business. That is money that the state puts on bills. It's to be collected and given directly to the state. If the state chooses to limit sales tax, that might be a good idea, but it would really benefit the consumer and not the business owner. So we may want to, less sales tax might mean that more people want to spend their money and buy items and give better, more gross revenue to the businesses. But we don't want to encourage people to spend sales tax, because there are a lot of fines if folks do spend the sales tax money, and we don't want people to be in a worse financial situation than some already are. But they're great ideas, and I appreciate you sending it and thinking about it, and any other ideas, send it through. On the education, if we can all share the governor's the COVID link with everyone. There is so much information out there about programs, but I know it's hard to get the information to everyone that needs it. And if businesses aren't sure if they qualify for opening or not opening, DECD is approving businesses that, kind of fall in between the straight categories, showing that they have safety guidelines, because not everyone is a restaurant or not everyone is a straight category. I know we've helped a lot of businesses through kind of getting their DECD approval. showing, with multiple offices that aren't considered essential, showing that they were safe and they can get back to work as much as possible.
Thank you, Representative Conley. Councilor Bumgardner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, thank you, Paige, for putting together that list. I think that was again, pretty comprehensive list. And one thing I would add to it, though, would be, I think, an explicit endorsement of the outdoor dining measures. I mean, I understand, absent the governor's executive order, local zoning would dictate how a restaurant could offer outdoor dining to their patrons, but with the governor's executive order, there really weren't any limits other than, obviously working in conjunction with town, planning staff to ensure that, it met certain guidelines. And so I think anything we can do to allow for outdoor dining in areas that, previously were not allowed should be welcomed. I know Pizzetta, for example, they had expanded outdoor dining, which I think, helped them enormously throughout the summer. And there are many other locations across town that kind of benefited from that. So, but other than that, I think it's a great list.
This is John. In terms of the favoritism and national chains, some states did do what Paige is talking about. In Michigan, they like if you went into Walmart, paint and that kind of thing was not considered essential, and so you couldn't buy it. They had to rope it off. So that is done in some places. Is it time, in terms of the outreach, we had those couple forums early on with the business community. Is it time, do you think, to do another one of that nature? Paige or Mayor or anyone else?
Paige, what are you hearing in your department?
We're hearing across the board in the community department, more information is always welcome. I think the real challenge, though, I had mentioned last night, it's a subtle, significant difference, but some communities believe more is better, like just wholesale more. And I actually believe that can confuse people. We have really tried to be targeted. We do have the COVID business page on Explore More, where we put primary data, hyperlinks, knowing that these expert sources are changing information daily. The last thing we want to do is try to translate, interpret what we hear and try to convey that to someone else secondhand. So we've been really cautious about that. So that's my first response. I do think it would make some sense to revisit and maybe have another forum. We can discuss what that information would be, but I think it's always beneficial to do more, probably less information, more frequent communications, if that makes sense, rather than a huge data dump. Have more of a targeted focus. I think that's easier for people to understand. But lastly, I would say I've tried to stay within our field of expertise. And there are some parts of this COVID situation that possibly are not experts in. I feel that way about the PPP loan forgiveness. And that was mentioned last night in the COW meeting. There are experts that are dealing with it all day long. And I think it's best for us to, rather than try to answer those questions or help people with those forms, it's almost like taxes. Try to push people to the experts who are focused on that. But if there are items that we think we can handle because we know best, I think it is appropriate to maybe set up another forum.
I just wanted to see if Mayor Hedrick or Ms. Patrick wanted to chime in with your experience from the city, what you're seeing with your businesses.
So I'm in agreement with a lot of what Paige is saying, especially when he's talking about Target. And what we've been doing in the city is really trying to listen and understand what the needs are, understand our capacity and kind of what type of programs or efforts that we could put together that kind of correlate with some of the existing projects that we have going on. So we're talking about business continuity. We've been looking at that from a perspective of how do you deal with man-made or disaster, but also how do you deal with coastal resiliency. So lumping those programs in together and kind of creating some type of workshop that is actually going to benefit the business as they go through that process to help them kind of come up with a game plan or something. So right now, a lot of coordinating is happening with our local partners, but I would just say definitely check out Explore More. They have a lot of links. Look at the City of Groton business page. I try to make it complement, but go into a little bit more intimate things or just different topics that businesses I hear about are kind of talking about. And then also, it's very important for us to connect our businesses to our local resources. So Women's Business Development Center sectors right in the City of Groton. They also now have a Connecticut Small Business Development member that is on site. So really getting those people into the front, in front of the people that they need to be in front of is kind of really the goal that we're focusing on here.
Wonderful, thank you. And is the city page linked through the Explore More page? Can you get to the city's page through the town's Explore More?
I believe so,
I,
but I can double check.
I believe so.
That's good. Mayor Hedrick, did you want to chime in at all?
No, I have nothing more. I mean, I agree with what everybody has said so far. We're going to be in this for the long haul. And, anything we can do to help the businesses out, we need to evaluate.
Mayor, just one other thought on the local taxes. You have to explicitly have authorization to change anything. So we're pretty much doing what we can at this point, unless they put out a new program.
Okay, so then are we looking to bring this to the full council and see if they're interested in having you pursue this? Or Mr. Byrd, is this going to be a managerial decision where you will just make the decision along with Mr. Bronk?
Well, I think first I'd like to, maybe if you can ruminate on the list, now that he's gone through, we've had discussion, if you want to kind of email the group on your thoughts on which ones you think are worthwhile. We can kind of see what the priorities are that way.
Okay, so then we could get everybody in this group to send their recommendations to us, and then we can expand.
You want
it
to send to
the
me
council.
and I'll distribute.
Excellent. Okay. And you all
by the way, Councilor Bordelon just texted me. She had a work emergency and apologizes that she can't make it tonight.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to jump in real quick. Paige, for the link on the Explore More site, can we actually change it to the doing business page? It goes to the main page. It might be better if it goes to the doing business page for the City of Groton.
Yeah, we can change anything. Can you send me an email to that effect? And then Sam and I can work on that?
Sure, absolutely.
Great.
Wonderful. Okay, so then the next thing we need to do then is just to go over the list and give the feedback to the town manager. And then the next time we meet, you will probably have some decisions as to how you wanted to proceed based on our feedback.
Right.
Is there anything else anyone has that they wanted to raise? If not, we can figure out when we will meet again.
Did we do 4 straight weeks this time? I forget.
Say that again.
Was it 4 weeks between the last one and this one? When did we last meet? Oh, September 6th. Hold on, what was it?
September 16th, and it is the 28th. We're going to run into Thanksgiving. So do we want to go to December? We can't do the second Wednesday because then Moderator Eben, you'll be meeting second Wednesday in December, correct?
I believe I can check real quick. Hang on.
We could do the 2nd of December. Would that work for you?
That works for me.
Is that a big conflict for anybody? That's a Wednesday. If we did Wednesday, 5:30, December 2nd. Mayor Hedrick? Does that look okay?
I'm good, but Sierra, you have an EDC on the 2nd of December.
That is correct. I was trying to pull up my calendar.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I looked at my calendar. That's what I had. So, and that's at 5:30. So that's a
That
conflict
won't work. Okay.
for Sierra.
So then we could bump it to a different night, or we could take it all the way to the 16th. What's your preference, members? You want to switch nights or just push it to December 16th?
16th might work a little better for me.
Works
Okay.
well for me.
16th is good?
Yep.
Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good with the 16th.
You know, I have a review panel meeting that day, but I should be done by then, so it's fine.
all right. All right, so we'll plan Wednesday, December 16th, 5:30 as our next meeting. And if there's no further discussion,
Mayor,
Counselor, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Bronk, then Counselor Bumgardner.
just a quick comment. I had mentioned in the past, we had applied for CDBG COVID funds and we hadn't really heard much. I was on a call the other day with the Department of Housing and I have a meeting with them tomorrow. They didn't tell me exactly what it's about, but I believe it's regarding this funding source. So I think it's still alive. It's been really quiet from their end, but I think they're interested in providing some funding. They may want to reprogram our application, but I just want people to know it's still on the radar.
Excellent, thank you for the update. Counselor Bumgardner.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. One question I have, and really anybody who may know the answer, feel free to take a stab at it. Just wondering what the testing resources are in Groton, where folks in town can, if they are feeling, if they have symptoms or even if they're asymptomatic, but I've come into contact with someone who is COVID positive. What are the testing resources in town that, they can utilize to get a test?
There's a community center clinic on 184 that my son used the other day. Community Health, I think it's called.
Right, and I would say the best source that I've seen, and Mr. Burt, you can correct, or Mayor Hedrick, Ledgelight Health District has one whole page devoted to testing. And it's best to link people to that because then it tells you all the specifics, it tells you what kind of testing it is. It tells you, what age they'll test, if it's minor, lots of details. And I find this kind of goes back to what Mr. Bronk was saying earlier. I defer to the experts on it, right? So I'd rather let them get it straight from Ledgelight than, the town trying to specify things. So that's my preference, but I'm not sure if the manager would like to speak to that.
I was going to say the same thing. And yeah, they have a pretty comprehensive website.
I do know that Physicians One offers testing, but the Ledgelight Health site, or Ledgelight Health District rather, site is the best. We're having a drive-through COVID test on Friday. And then that's at the Municipal building. And then there's going to be another one we're doing at St. John's. I don't remember, or I guess I don't know if that's been solidified yet, but we're going to be doing one there in the city. So we'll have two more in the city that they've been working with us to get set up. That way, with the increased infection rate that we're having, we're trying to get more testing out there.
And besides our one on Friday at Senior Center, and we've been doing a few of them at Senior Center. We are trying to arrange some more, like maybe some at our police department, some at the high school. So we're working on that.
Yeah, you also have CVS, because Ferry does the testing, and don't forget L&M. They have outside testing too.
And that walk-in clinic in the Stop and Shop Plaza, I got tested there.
Very good. Lots of resources. That's wonderful. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second, Bumgardner.
Motion to adjourn by Hedrick, seconded by Bumgardner. We are at 7 members. So all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? So moved unanimously. 7-0-0, and we are adjourned at 6:09. Thank you
Oh,
very
just-
much for coming out. Thank you for your time, Mayor.
Thank you, everyone.
Patrick, Representative
you.
Conley, thank you. Have a good
Thank
night,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone. Thank you, Paige.
Thank you, Sima. Bye,
Bye,
Andre.
Patrice.
See
See you
ya.
guys.